yeah, man. Your own sound is very important. The first thing I would say is get more to the envelopes, play around, with a few little modulations, you know what I mean? When you pull up certain instruments, like a Gladiator, for instance, don't just take it as it is, just the instrument that they give you. Go in and tweak a few, knobs or whatever. Just put your own thing to it. Play around with the filters. One of my tricks, I hope I ain't telling too much. A lot of times, I don't share it because no matter what I tell you, it ain't gonna sound alike. I like to send sounds through certain effects like stutter, you know what I mean? And it may just be a crazy synth, but if you find that one setting where you'd be like, it might just do something real crazy with it. It's gonna really be like a brand new synthesizer, but only you know what you had done to it. You know what I mean? It's like when I did "You Don't Know Me" for T.I. It was some sounds in there where a lot of people thought it was a sample, but what I did was sample my own music. But I set it through an orange vocoder and tweaked it up a little bit, resampled it into the ASR 10, turned the bit level down to where, every A&R was like, well, we need to clear that sample. I'm like, it's not a sample. That's my sound. I created that. So that's really one of the tricks too, just sampling your own music. Or just send it through something. Don't just take it as is. You know what I mean? It's like, car with no wheels,
It's crazy because we had a conversation with the business on one of these panels about, sound like that. And, that, I don't know if you guys know, if you've seen or had conversations with Dow and Henny and how passionate they are about their music, but Dow always says, like, dude, I'll get a flat basketball and a tennis racket and make a snare.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to think outside the box sometimes. It's not always about what you might be able to get online, or you can create a sound out of anything. A can, a pencil, a fingernail cut, or whatever. You can create sound basically out of everything. So you can always have, the choices are endless. You just have to be creative enough to really bring something to the table. What about you, S1? Somebody who's coming up in the game right now, who's starting to develop your own style, people know, okay, that's an S1 record. I need S1 to work on this project. How important is it for you now as you identify yourself coming up in the game?
Well, it's very important. Like when I first started producing and really developing my sound, I've always been the type of producer with whatever the popular sound is, like I always try to go against that. Like that's just kind of been my thing. And I think it's more longevity in that. Like, it's cool if your purpose is to, I want to be more of what everybody else is doing. There's nothing wrong with that. Ride the wave. But I've always been like the total opposite. Like whatever is playing on the radio, like, okay, I want to do the opposite of that. But at the same time, I want to contain elements of that commercialism. So it connects still. So that's kind of my thing, combining the underground with the commercial.
Well, you made a good point there too, because I think a lot of times, a lot of like new producers, like in the room, I think you hear what's on the radio. You might go to an A&R meeting, or you might meet with an artist, and sometimes it's like what they want is what's going on right now. What most people don't know is that if you're creating a record and you get a placement, that might not come out for a year or two in a record. So you have to think, like we're thinking now, I know these guys are probably thinking like, fall 2014, spring 2015 type of thing. So be aware of that as well. And the emulation of working with a producer is stuff that we always tell people. If you like P-Rock and that's your influence and that's your mentor, you're not really in competition with each other. You're in competition with P-Rock. You're in competition with Toomp and S1 and these guys. So always make sure your sound's quality is where it needs to be. Never cut a corner when it comes to stuff like that. But that's a great point, though. And you hear a lot of people doing the trap thing, or what's popular right now. They have to find their own element within that if they want to do that. So how do you do that?
I think it's just a matter of just like with me personally, like I listen to a bunch of different music, so I have different influences. And it's just like you just said, finding a unique sound within that. Like I'm a fan of trap music, but like I have a problem when everything sounds like a remix of the next beat. It's like it's cool to do trap, but how about try to create a new type of trap or a new type of sound within trap? So it's just a matter of just finding the right sounds and finding something that's innovative that really, like I was just saying, connects with people on that level, but at the same time they hear it and be like, man, there's something different about this.
I think too, the relevance of a producer really is based on that too, because you look at somebody like a Primo who's never really had to change his sound or reinvent himself, because he is known for those records. I mean, when people want records like that, they want a Primo. They don't want a Primo-like beat. They don't want a beat that sounds like Primo. They want a Primo for that beat.
Yeah.
You know, and that was an era, and that was a sound. And I think trap is more, you know, more regional and not necessarily, you know, something that might be around forever. So what happens when trap dies, if it does? What do you do then? You're gonna copy the next thing? You know what I'm saying? You have to find an identity as a producer and really stick with it. When you were, you know, starting, because you used to be a DJ as well back in the day.
Back on it. Just get back into it. Yeah.
When you first started working, you know, in the production kind of world, who did you really look at and say, you know what, I want to have a career that's as relevant as this guy right here?
Man, Marley Marl. When I found out he was using I had the same drum machine he had, which was the SB1200. Man, I was like, hold on, you know, like, hey, man. And I started getting familiar with, you know, going through the crates, you know. At one point, I was just sampling, you know, just loops and music. Later on, I started figuring out I could just take some drums from some of these old records, find that break, and, you know, a lot of stuff that you see on breakbeat albums. Come to find out, I had the original records, you know, tucked away for years, didn't even know it, you know. So that's a good thing too. That just having that balance of, you know, I think I came in at a real good era, because it's like, you got to think, when I really started listening to hip hop, which was 81, 82. You know, the East Coast was rolling, but we still had our down south thing as far as with the bass, and I incorporated that. Like this first guy who I produced named Raheem, we were kind of like LL and Bobcat, you know what I mean? And you know, he was more into the lyrics, the big words, and I was just, you know, studying just the whole game itself. Even though Bobcat's from the West Coast, but you know, LL, New York, and so it was just really the direction of coming in at an era, but we still just down here had our own sound. You know what I mean? But that's why some people will hear my stuff and be like, okay, man, I never thought you would do that. Just like the 2 Chainz record, right? That don't sound like the regular Toomp stuff, but if you go through my iTunes, you'll be like, oh, okay, you do have a lot of that. But it's just kind of hard to get a lot of my hip hop tracks off down here. That's why a lot of times I just had to take a New York flight or go to the West Coast. You know, there's a few cats down here who's with it, but I try to, you know, introduce that more than, you know, just to try to give the South another face more than just that bass sound all the time, you know? Yeah, absolutely.
No, I was going to kind of build on Toomp. Like, I didn't even know Toomp was, like, I've been a big fan of Toomp, but like, it was one point, like right around the power situation when he was in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And he was in the top room, and he was playing me some stuff, and I was like, this is incredible. Like, I didn't know he was on that. Like, his range is stupid. Right. Yeah. So, you know, to hear him say that,
and sometimes the radio, you know, like you say, the radio, the A&Rs, and what the industry would ask for, it'll kind of pigeonhole you to the point where, you know, because I think we was at one of the EMI things that Big John had, and one of the A&Rs was like, yeah, you know what, we working with this artist, and what we talking about a room full of writers and producers, and he specifically was like, you know, we looking for that Toomp sound, and I was all like, okay, you know what, A&R just saying that like that means my sound is gonna be bitten, like that means like how can you tell a room full of people
your Wikipedia
that we looking for the Toomp sound? Yeah. And it was a, you know, it was kind of a little, it was a compliment, but it was kind of like, man, where's the industry going to where this man is telling a room full of people that we're looking for the Toomp sound? Like, you have some nerve, really.
And you in the room.
yeah, I'm sitting right there. I'm like, give me about 4 hours. We go through my iTunes, you know, I got it. So yeah, man.
I know a lot of people anxious to bang you with heavy metal like Magneto.